wanted to explain a little bit about what I've been through this past 3 months. But basically, on the 13th of March, I got admitted into hospital. So that night I played football, and then within a couple of hours of being at home, I was on the floor in agony and I couldn't move. I was in so much pain in my stomach. I did not have a clue what it was. So I called my husband and he was on his way home, thankfully. And I said, I don't know what it is, but I've never ever been in this much pain before. And he said, can you move? And I said, no, I've literally been on the living room floor for about an hour now, just screaming. So he was like, I'm home in 10 minutes. So he came back and I was just lying on the floor and he said, I think we need to go to A&E. And I said, I can't, I physically can't move. So I said, can you just take me to bed? So he took me up to bed, he carried me up to bed, and I just thought in my head, it could just be one of them things where you wake up in the morning and you think, God, what a strange feeling that was, or that was weird that I had that pain. I honestly just thought it could be that. So I went to bed and lasted till about 12:30, like just past midnight. And I went to the toilet and I just immediately almost dropped completely. So I just felt so queasy and so sick. I had a terrible headache and just this pain out of my stomach was just, the only way I could describe it is if someone was just sticking needles into my stomach. Like, it was awful. And so I shouted Tom, and I just shouted out loud, and I just shouted like from the bathroom in the ensuite, I just shouted, Tom, call A&E. And he was like half asleep, so I shouted again, and he came in and he was like, what's going on? And I said, call A&E right now. I said, I need to go to hospital, so it's not right. So we called A&E, and obviously they came quite quickly, to be fair, probably within 20 minutes, even though that 20 minutes felt like, 3 hours. By the time they'd come, I'd kind of come off the toilet and curled my body round like the basin of the toilet, and I was just like, I just can't move, I physically can't move. And then they turned up, and literally as soon as they walked into our bedroom, I just threw up like 3 times all over the bathroom floor, and just all this black stuff came out. I don't know why it was black. So they basically said, we need to get you onto the bed because we need to take your blood pressure and your heart rate and everything like that to see what kind of meds we can give you, because you need some meds right now because you're in pain. Anyway, long story short, they managed to finally get some bloods and stuff from me, and they just pumped like the quickest sort of like amount of morphine they could into me just to be able to get me to the hospital. We got to the hospital. By this time it was maybe about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and they were just running loads of tests. I mean, I'll show you my arm now in a picture. They were just trying to get blood from everywhere. I don't know why, but none of my veins were working. They were just all collapsing. So they were trying it from my hip, from my foot, from like my wrist here. Where else were they trying it? I think on the palm of my hand, the top of my hand, sorry. And they were just basically going through everything. They didn't know whether it was potentially bowel cancer, they didn't know whether it was appendicitis, they thought it could have just been that I was pregnant, and obviously that was ruled out very quickly. So they just didn't know. And so obviously then, the family were called, and everybody just kind of like just made their way to us at the hospital. And so without going into like lengthy detail, within sort of 5 hours of being in A&E, I went for a CT scan, and basically everything on my inside, especially my appendix, were just sort of really inflamed. So that was it then. They thought, right, appendicitis, let's get them out, we're done. So that's what we were thinking anyway. So I went in for the operation. Instead of it being like 3 hours, it lasted 6 hours, so already there was a complication there. And when I came out, I wasn't basically coming round from the medication, so that was a little bit of a worry as to why my body wasn't kind of like getting me back around, why wasn't it strong enough to bring me back. Once kind of like everything had happened, they obviously spoke to my parents, they spoke to Tom, and they said basically that we're still waiting for it to come round, but there's been a bit of a complication with the actual surgery. So basically your appendix are meant to be sort of around the bottom right hand side of your stomach. Well, mine were in the middle, and he said it's just she was just born like that. Like there's nothing to do with her lifestyle, nothing to do with her diet, nothing at all which would make the appendix kind of move. She was obviously just born with her appendix in the middle of her stomach. And so obviously, because it was in the middle of my stomach, it made it very difficult for them to be able to get them out, which meant that it was my appendix were behind my bowel. So when they went in to get my appendix, what they did, they went in with obviously keyhole surgery, and they must have, what we think is spasmed, my bowel must have spasmed from potentially getting a little bit caught, maybe by the tools they were using, or the fact that you had to take my appendix out from behind my bowel. So that was basically the complication of the first surgery. When I finally came around, I was no better. I was really poorly still. I was in sort of like the, what do you call it? So when I finally came round, I woke up and I was in critical care. And I was probably in there, I think, for just under a day, because basically I was still sort of screaming. I was saying I was saying to my mum, and I've never been in so much pain, like what's wrong with me? I thought, like, why is it not working? I couldn't I just couldn't do anything. All I wanted to do was basically be on my side, crouched up, and that was the pain in which I got admitted into hospital with, and that was with my appendix out. So we were, my parents and, everybody were just kind of trying to figure out why is the pain not gone, because they said it would go, like alleviate the pain as soon as my appendix came out. And I started to get a lot of other things, like my face kept going bright red, I was boiling hot. And so they took me for another CT scan. Bless my husband Tom and my family. By this point they were literally kind of all doing shifts, like so that someone was with me. So none of them had properly slept for, coming up to like 72 hours now. Anyway, so I went in for the CT scan and it showed that there was basically a sepsis around my stomach. And part of my bowel had died, so part of my bowel had gone black. So what had happened is the CT scan showed that my stomach had double twisted on itself, and when it twisted, it had cut off the blood supply to the right hand side of my bowel, which then caused it to die, and that's why it was black, and it was leaking sepsis, which is like a poison. And so it was basically all guns blazing, we've got to get her into surgery now because, she's got poison in her. So, I mean, it was, because I was in so much pain, I think I can only look back at it now and think, oh my life, like I could have died, it was life or death at that point. And but from what my family have told me, the doctor came over and I had to sign a form stating that I could die from this surgery that they're going to give me. And then there was other little complications, if they, basically what they needed to do was cut all the way down the middle of my stomach to basically open me up, because they had to get the bowel out that had died, and then obviously clean up everything that's happened. And so there was little complications, like they said, if it didn't go as cleanly as possible, they might have had to give me a colostomy bag, which would be attached kind of like to just above my hip, and I could have either had to live with it or have it for sort of 6 months to 12 months. So basically that goes to the toilet for you. So I had to sign all these things stating, if this goes wrong, we'll have to do that. If this goes wrong, we'll have to do that. There is a certain chance that you could not survive this. I had to sign that to say I want to go ahead with surgery anyway. So after all that, finally went in. Again, the surgery lasted a lot longer than what they thought. Managed to get the bowel out, so half the bowel that had died, but they also had to attach a drain. So this drain had a tube in it, maybe this long. It came into my bottom right hand hip and went all the way up my right side and basically stopped just by my ribs. And so that was in there to kind of like drain all the fluid that was in me, because basically there was still a little bit of poison left in me, so what they needed to do is drain that after the operation as well. And also it was still kind of, my bowel was still leaking a lot of like, sort of like gunky fluids and stuff which they needed to drain out, so that was still in me. And basically I obviously then went back into critical care, but from what I've been told of my husband and my mum, the doctors came in and they just, they said, "Can we see you upstairs, please?" And all they obviously wanted to know that everything was okay and everything was fine. But they took him into a room. The doctor walked out, called a nurse in and said, "We need you in here as well." And then the two surgeons that performed my operation also came in. So obviously my mum and husband are sat there thinking, she's not made it, And they were both just going crazy, and my husband just said, he basically like blurted out, "Is she okay?" And they didn't say anything. They just said, "We'll talk about that in a minute." And they were just like, thinking the worst, as you would. And then so they finally, everyone sat down in there, and the mum apparently just went, "Is she okay?" And the doctor said, "She's okay. However," and they were like, it doesn't matter if there's a however, it's just that she's okay, that's brilliant. And then they just kind of like went through to explain all the complications. So from there then, it was almost just a very, very slow progress of just learning to kind of like walk a little bit. Throughout that whole time, so I was in hospital for the whole time for just under 2 weeks. For 10 days of them, they had me nil by mouth, which means you're not allowed to eat or drink anything. So by that point, obviously, I was very weak. I'd lost a lot of weight, but I couldn't have anything because I didn't, my bowel wasn't well enough to kind of accept anything. It would have like overloaded it or overworked it, and then I could have kind of gone backwards basically. So they started to slowly introduce me like 30 mils a day of water, which was just like, it was heaven to have just fresh water in my mouth. Like honestly, I cannot tell you how amazing that tastes, like that felt. It was amazing. And then I think around the 11th day they let me, I wasn't allowed to have full food, but I was allowed to have a little bit of something, like something that was soft. So they allowed me ice cream that one day, and obviously like, oh my life, like it's just plain hospital ice cream, but it was the best ice cream I've ever had, because trust me, when you've not eaten for that long, like any ice cream is amazing. And so then it was just a case of, just every day they tried to do something sort of like to kind of take everything off me, because I had so many tubes inside me. I had like tubes up my nose, tubes down my throat, this big tube in the side of me. I was on so much medication, I was on so much morphine, and it was just like, right, we need to try and like each day now, luckily because of getting this at the age that I am, being 29, my body was able to fight for itself, whereas, they said to me that the surgeon said to me I'm the youngest person he's ever seen have this, ever, and it's quite common usually in like elderly people. So I was the youngest person on the ward by 60 years. And so because of knowing this, they kind of knew, and obviously with my background of being an athlete, they knew, right, I think the more we can get her going as soon as possible, her recovery will be much quicker. So literally within 3 days after surgery, I had the physios come in, you know, they wanted me up the bed, they wanted me just to walk, you know, my physio would be to walk around the other side of the bed and get back into bed, but it was just a case of I couldn't even lift myself up, like, it was just so painful. I can't begin to describe. I mean, it just felt like I constantly had a knife in me. It was just absolutely horrible. And you know, and then I just started to get stronger and stronger. They slowly kind of bring the morphine dosage down. You know, they took the wires out my nose, they took them out my arms, so I didn't need any more injections. You know, I was on injections in my stomach like 3 times a day. You know, so every kind of day, it kind of got a little bit like, we'll take this off and see how she does. And then they kind of like got me onto like a diet where I could have breakfast, lunch and tea, and then snacks if I wanted to, but everything had to be soft, so I couldn't have anything which was kind of like hard, crispy, anything that was too high in protein, like meat things. It was a case of pretty much things like mash, white fish, cereal, porridge, you know, drinks like hot chocolate, things like that, milkshakes. Until I finally was able to come home. And then it was just a case of carrying on the hospital at home. I went through, you know, a month of pretty much just sleeping the whole time. It was very much kind of trial and error, back and forth to hospital all the time with certain pains, and why am I still feeling this? You know, back for CT scans, back for just blood tests, just everything, because basically with the first month of coming out of hospital, I was throwing up so much. You know, I couldn't keep any food down. I was having like terrible migraines all the time. Just basically everything that I was feeling in hospital was kind of still there, and it was just worrying. So after trial and error of just changing different types of medication, you know, at one point they put me on double the morphine medication that I was on when I was actually in hospital, and it was just absolutely killing me. You know, I couldn't even keep my eyes open, I was throwing up, and there was nothing in me to throw up, so I was just so poorly. And then I finally like kind of turned a corner really. I kind of completely came off the morphine. I had a CT scan at hospital, and I had an X-ray on my abdomen, and all of it showed that I was healing really, really well. So from that point then, I think psychologically it helped me to kind of break through barriers which I thought would scare me at one point. I got the go-ahead to eat sort of whatever food I liked, so I didn't have to stick to soft food, which was good. But that again was hard mentally, because in my head I was scared that if I ate anything normally, like, it would happen again, and I would kind of like spasm something off again. And then so really here we are on the 5th of June, and I've managed to put on, you know, when I went into hospital I lost about 10 pounds, and I've managed to put on 5 pounds. So I'm doing well. You know, I'm back up, I can walk now, so I walk Oreo twice a day, but that is it. I won't be going back to any sort of exercise or work till at least August, because that's what the surgeon told me. My case has been signed off from hospital, which is good, so I don't have to keep going back for weekly checkups with the hospital. And like I said, I can now eat what I want. Obviously, you know, I get to a point in the day where my stomach is so painful, but it's not dangerous, it's just painful of my bowel trying to get used to digesting the food. You know, I've got stitches on the outside and on the inside of my stomach, so, you know, obviously the more I eat, my stomach expands, and it kind of just presses the stitches a little bit, so it just expands the stitches, which is very painful. I literally can't sleep like for that long. I just seize up massively. The mornings are like my worst time, because I'm just in so much pain. Just from the night, just from being kind of like still and on my back or on my side for a long time. So the only medication I'm on now is about 100 milligrams of cocodamol a day, and I usually just take that in the night, and during the actual day I'm just on 2 different types of laxatives just to help me go to the toilet, and just kind of like paracetamol as and when I need it, but I try not to do it because the amount of cocodamol I'm on at the moment is very sort of, it bungs you up and does make you quite constipated, so I do try and just kind of like live with the pain throughout the day, and then take painkillers in the night just to help me sleep. So yeah, so diet wise, I have 2 days where I eat about 3,000 calories, and then the other 5 days out of the week I eat a little bit less than that. But basically what we're trying to do now is really ramp up the calories just to aid recovery much quickly. You know, it's not just about getting me back to a healthy weight, it's about kind of like helping everything to sew itself back together, you know, giving me my body the strength it needs, just to get through day-to-day life. You know, I could walk Oreo twice a day and feel like I've run a marathon, been at work all day and been football training. Like, that's how tired it will make me. So at the moment I'm just needing like triple the amount of calories just for energy and just to basically knit everything back together that was broken, basically. So yeah, so I mean, these 3,000 calorie days are not just a binge, they're not like an all you can eat, they're not a calorie challenge, because, you know, that's not what I need to do. What I need to do is I need to healthily get in the calories to build my body back together and to, you know, get back to a healthy weight. So, I mean, there will be, I'm going to have to kind of like choose kind of like calorie dense things like snacks and stuff just to get the calories in. But meal-wise, you know, it's not going to be a Domino's all-out, you know, stuff like that, because I need good nutritious food to help, you know, just with everything on the inside. I'm not going to fill myself with rubbish. So today is going to be the first day in which I've got one of my 3,000 calorie days. So, I mean, like, fingers crossed, I'm a bit nervous because on the other days where, you know, I like I said, I don't eat as much as 3,000, I'm still like very full. Like, even last night I went to bed like quite full. So I'm a little bit nervous that I'm going to be like, am I going to be able to do it? But, you know, I'll just try and get as close to it as I can. I mean, it might be that I might be fine. You know, I have the last few days since calories have massively gone up, I've woken up hungry, you know, I've been hungry in the night, so my metabolism's getting there, it's just whether my stomach can actually handle that much food. So yeah, so come along with me today. You know, I'll show you kind of like what I'm eating, I'll document like how I'm feeling, and yeah. Okay guys, so this is just some of my laxatives that I take. So I take like 15 mil of these a day, usually before every meal. So this just basically helps to soften my stool, basically. So tastes delicious. Okay, so here's my breakfast. In here we've got 60-gram gluten-free oats, and then we've also got 10 grams of these lupin flakes. So I got these from Body Powder this year by a company called Revo Lupin, and honestly they're really, really good. Like, if you're looking for an easy way to like up your fibre, these are brilliant. Like, they've got more protein in, like, look at all that, they've got more protein in than oats, than whole eggs. And like, if you just look at that there, the fibre content is absolutely unreal. Per 100 grams, 37 grams of fibre. And that's like perfect for me, because that kind of like, it challenges my bowel. So I've got that in there with skimmed milk, and then I always top my oats with this. So it's pumpkin pie Flavour God. You can actually get this from a company called Posted Protein, and if you use my code, which I will link below, you can get 5% off your whole order. So yeah, I pretty much just drizzle these on in there. Honestly, just, it's an absolute game changer with your oats. And then that's breakfast. So I'm just out at the moment with Oreo on her first walk of the day. Just stopped by Starbucks. Skinny cappuccino, or skinny caramel
cappuccino just to tide me over until I get back home. So it's a lovely day and it feels great to be outside, great to be walking, moving my body a little bit, which you know, it does kind of get quite stiff like when I'm just sat around all the time. So kind of like the key is like small constant movement, nothing too strenuous, nothing that kind of like really raises my heart rate, just kind of slow and steady, but just kind of constant throughout the day, which kind of like helps my mobilization. And kind of like things like rotating my core, little things like that, so that I don't kind of get too stiff or seize up. So yeah, I'll catch you at lunch. So currently the only place in my car that I can hold the camera up is through my steering wheel. So we have just finished walking Oreo, so just on the way back now. So I've just popped into a little shop, so I just bought these little Muller Corner, which I will have with my lunch when I get home. But I've just bought these because I flipping adore these, so I'm gonna have 2 of these just like on the way home while I'm driving, and I'll see you when I get back. We are back home now. Oh, that's so disgusting. Got 5 rice cakes with hummus on top of it. So hummus is just such an easy way of getting calories in, so I just spread it on and lather it on up there. And I've also got just a green. Hey guys, so I am just chilling now with a cup of tea and watching a little bit of Netflix, just having a bit of like a relaxed time because I'm quite tired, so just having a rest in the day. I am just munching on halfway through this Quest bar. So these are white chocolate raspberry, and honestly these are amazing, like such an easy way for me to get some protein in. You can get these as well from, you know, the company I was talking about with Posted Protein, so you can get them. I'll leave the link below. You can get these for cheap. This is white chocolate raspberry, like one of my favourite flavours, so I'm already halfway through that, so I'll finish the rest of that. And then I've also got this as well, so I'll munch on that while I'm watching Netflix. I'm back into the kitchen just to make a quick snack before I go back out with Oreo, and I've got, you can see here, so 2 pieces of the Warburton gluten-free bread, one with butter, and then I've cut the other one in half and done like half butter and Marmite and half jam. Yeah, I'm a Marmite lover, of course. And then another cup of tea, because fluids is like really important. I've got to make sure that my fluids are up constantly. So yeah, so I'll have this, carry on watching a bit more Netflix, and then I'll take Oreo out for my second little walk. So I'm finally home from walking Oreo, and it is the old lactulose time. I have made a banging tea, like I'm not even gonna lie. This is absolutely a massive bowl of pasta, like a solid, I think about 650 calories. So I'm absolutely buzzing to eat this. I'll just give you a nice little close-up shot. Yeah, so we've basically got gluten-free pasta, like 230 grams I think, with mixed veg, and then I've just got like this ham slices that I pretty much just cut into squares, grilled for a couple of minutes and then shoved them in. And then it's got tomato puree topped with Eat Lean cheese, which is this protein cheese that I got sent out to me. Thank you very much, Eat Lean. And yeah, basically the sauce is just Worcester sauce, tomato puree, and a little bit of tin tomatoes, and that is it. It's all done, so I've just made myself a nice little Belgium's hot chocolate, and then I've got a few little bits and bobs of Easter egg left over, and then I got a chunk of this vegan Vigo bar, which is absolutely amazing. Like, it's got full-on chunks of havels on it. So I'm just going to go and catch up on Netflix again before Love Island starts at 9 o'clock, and yeah, I'm pretty much nearly finished now. I'll probably only have like a little bit of a snack later, and then a cup of tea, and then I'll be ready for bed. Last meal snack of the day, we've got a little raspberry yogurt, we've got a Oppo ice cream, which is amazing. These are like the vanilla and Madagascar new sticks that they've brought out. And I've got another one of them Battenbergs and a cup of tea, watching Love Island, and yeah, having a chill out time. It's about 9:45 now, so I'm going to watch this until 10 and then go to sleep. And then that's my day. So yeah, so pretty much, you know, just trying to get in as much calories as possible, just so I can kind of aid my recovery, to kind of help my body to piece itself back together after my surgery. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this full day of eating. I'm going to document kind of my journey over the next kind of 4 weeks, just to show you how, you know, how important it is to fuel your body, and how you should feed your body when it's been through something like me, like a surgery, you know, a drastic life-changing thing, how important it is to fuel your body and to recover and be healthy. Things like treats and stuff today, it's not like you should just have fruit and veg and you know, lean meat cuts. Like, no, like, you should just go for what you fancy, and at the end of the day, for me at the moment, it's just calories. I need the calories, so I'm just going for what I fancy. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please give it a like, subscribe, and if you want me to do any sort of videos in the future, let me know. Bye bye.